One of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, Catholic communicator in my lifetime has been Pope John Paul II. And he himself said that St. Paul, in the first century of Christianity, would go into the marketplace, the agora. That was where people talked about ideas. That's where people made announcements. And he said if St. Paul were alive now, he would be on radio and he'd be on television, because he would realize that that is the electronic marketplace.
The primary mode of communication and knowledge and thought isn't any longer the written word, but the media. It's a much more intuitive way of communicating, and which is why it makes it so important that the church actively engage this particular aspect of culture.
We're called to evangelize, and it's only through Catholic radio we have any real hope of doing that, because we're living in an age in which messages are delivered through mass media.
We have a whole generation of people, young people behind us, who really think if something isn't present in the media, it really is irrelevant.
There's so much noise in our society. There's so many other influences. This culture that we're living in, it's all about you. Everybody's focused on themselves. And if that's what you're hearing from other media or newspapers or television shows, that's what you think about.
The news media, the entertainment media, and advertising very often portray certain values or lack of values or understandings of the human person that are really ultimately dehumanizing, but have an initial attraction or appeal to them.
There needs to be available contemporary, current, meaningful, understandable sources of information for all Catholics.
At the end of the day, the media is vying for the hearts and minds of men, women, children. If Catholics don't get into the media and also vie for the hearts and minds with the truth, presenting them the truth, presenting them what they're made for, then we're going to lose this battle for culture.
Immaculate Heart Radio. Our mission is to evangelize and catechize. Within the boundaries of the Catechism, we put the Catholic faith on the air.
Immaculate Heart Radio provides the church the opportunity to reach a very large number of people all throughout the day. People have the radio on while they're doing other things and are paying attention to what's being said.
It's not just a matter of being able to know the truth, it's being equipped to be able to articulate it to others.
Immaculate Heart Radio really gives me the tools and gives me the knowledge so that I can share my faith and defend my faith.
I felt like my faith has been deepened. Before, with regards to the issue of abortion, I was kind of like on the fence. I said whatever the person's view, but now I feel like, you know, hey, that's a gift from God and we should honor that.
There are a whole range of testimonies, from marriages saved to babies being saved, women on the way to have an abortion thinking that's the only way out and deciding not to have the abortion because of what they heard on our Catholic radio station in their city.
We've heard from over a dozen people who say that they intended to end their life, except that they heard something at just the last minute on our radio station that turned them around, and the suicide was prevented.
When I was 19, I became pregnant out of wedlock.
We got married. I was 20 years old, she was 19. And after that, I went back overseas for another 7 months.
Because we were separated, we grew apart in every which way.
Coming back on leave in mid-2006, it seemed as if all hope was really lost.
I then sought to go through with an annulment, thinking that this was the biggest mistake I'd ever made in my life.
Katrina had served me my divorce papers.
I wanted to have a healthy and beautiful family and a beautiful marriage, and it just wasn't turning out that way. I found myself still needing to know whether or not this is what God wanted me to do.
Well, when I came home, we only had one car, and so we drove around everywhere together and we listened to the radio, and she would frequently tune in to Immaculate Heart Radio.
The discovery of Immaculate Heart Radio was life-changing. It was a light.
The radio station has worked miracles for our marriage. There's no doubt about that.
I learned more about my faith, I think, in listening to all of those programs than my entire life of being a Catholic.
I'm a cradle Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I lost my faith when I was 18.
I lived a very promiscuous life. I drank a lot and partied a lot with my friends. There was no God in my mind. But there was a sense of emptiness because I know that back then I was constantly seeking the advice of astrology and looking for some other truth. I volunteered like at the National Organization for Women, and I volunteered at Planned Parenthood. I wanted to protect women from the pro-lifers. And I would just walk up to the woman and I'd lead her into the clinic. It was about a year after the divorce, and I was still very depressed and trying to figure out my life and why things were turning out the way they were. And I was driving along and somebody right in front of me had a Catholic bumper sticker, Catholic radio bumper sticker. So I tuned in and it just captivated me and I started listening to it every day. I just felt like these light bulbs were going off and my hardened heart was just getting softer and softer. It just changed my life.
I believe in the value of Immaculate Heart Radio, and I ask others please to share with me that enthusiasm. I think it's very important for us to use this tool to reach people about their faith, to deepen it, to broaden it, and perhaps to share it with others.
If I plan to teach my boys, my 2 young boys, the traditions of the church and the correct teachings, I need to be informed properly. And so that's helped us. It's helped me, definitely.
What's important is that we all use the blessings God has given us to contribute to the common good. And certainly Immaculate Heart Radio is one of those great blessings God has given us for doing that.
I have made a 180-degree change, and we even now go to Planned Parenthood and we pray. I take my older boys and we pray the rosary with other church members. I believe that my whole life changed for the better after, and it sounds like a slogan, but after I started listening to Catholic radio and just learning more and just becoming more involved in my church, I just felt like everything sort of fell into place the way it's supposed to be.
The beauty of the radio station is that I actually learn and can put it into practice immediately.
It allows you to become more devoted, learn ways to increase your faith and your knowledge, to fall in love with the faith.
These testimonies show that Catholic radio works, that Immaculate Heart Radio is transforming lives, saving souls. It's transforming families. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all about. That's our whole goal.